Half a month had passed, and in the heart of the Bell Toll mountain range stood the singular Gourd Peak, a mountain as round as a gourd, yet tapering at its middle. Like the Imperial Dragon Peak, it held great importance within the Blaze Dragon Dao, its 10,000-foot stature dwarfing its surroundings. The Spirit Spring at its base nurtured the flourishing flora, keeping the mountain lush and vibrant throughout the seasons. Guarded by an unbreakable protective array, it was a sacred place, home to the Dao's most revered pill refinement masters, responsible for crafting the life-altering pills that could hasten the cultivation of immortals. Within this sanctum, even the earthly pill masters were honored, for only those with immense skill could refine pills capable of assisting cultivators in opening their immortal acupoints, an arduous process that, without aid, would span centuries. The spirit medicines required for such concoctions were often hundreds or even thousands of years old, making their creation a rare and costly art. Only the most powerful sects could afford such expertise. Han Li had arrived at the foot of Gourd Peak through a teleportation array, his destination a golden palace connected to the mountain's protective formation. After a brief identity verification, he stepped into another array and was whisked away to the Red Palace atop the peak, where an atmosphere reminiscent of a mortal apothecary greeted him. The hall was sparsely populated, save for a few elders perusing the offerings, and a middle-aged attendant, Ye Nanfeng, approached him with a courteous smile. After exchanging pleasantries, Han Li requested pills to assist in his cultivation, and Ye Nanfeng offered various options. The Origin Unifying Pill for 200 merit points, the Spirit Sign Pill for 500 merit points, or the more affordable Spring Rain Pill, which promised better value. Han Li was startled by the steep costs, especially considering his limited merit points, yet he persisted with his inquiry about pill recipes. Ye Nanfeng, though hesitant, explained that while recipes for the Origin Unifying Pill and Spring Rain Pill were available for purchase, the Spirit Sign Pill's recipe was strictly guarded by Master Hu Yan. Upon learning the prices of the recipes and the rare ingredients required for each pill, Han Li decided on the Origin Unifying Pill, which he was familiar with. He had blaze tuber herbs already planted in his cave, making this an easier choice. After purchasing the recipe and the necessary ingredients, he left the palace and returned to his secret chamber to prepare for the refining process. 3 months passed, during which Han Li immersed himself in the study of the pill recipe, meticulously analyzing each step to avoid costly mistakes. His preparations were complete, and he was now ready to attempt the refinement. Inside his chamber, incense filled the air as he meditated, clearing his mind before his crucial trial. In front of him sat a purple copper cauldron, its flame patterns glimmering in the dim light. The ingredients for the Origin Unifying Pill were laid out, and with a steady breath, Han Li prepared to begin his first attempt at pill refinement, the cauldron glowing with anticipation. Han Li exhaled gently, raising his palm and causing the purple copper burner to levitate with an unseen force, hovering 3 feet above the ground. A nascent flame erupted from his mouth, encircling the cauldron in a fiery cloud. The ancient runes on the cauldron blazed to life, and the cauldron began to glow crimson. With a flick of his hand, the blaze tuber herb flew into his grasp. His palm glowed with azure light as a vortex began to form, the herb grinding to powder within it. With a flick of his wrist, the lid of the cauldron lifted, and the powdered herb swirled into the pot. The cauldron began to spin within the nascent flame as Han Li carefully adjusted the temperature and added ingredient after ingredient. A rich medicinal fragrance filled the air as the refinement process continued, and after a full day and night, the flame died down, and the cauldron settled with a soft clang. Han Li approached the cauldron, opened it, and peered inside with furrowed brows. The cauldron was black inside, with only powder remaining, indicating failure. He examined the powder, sensing the issue. The temperature had been too low at the critical moment, preventing the pills from forming. Unfazed, Han Li prepared for a second attempt, resting for half a day before resuming his work. Weeks passed, and Han Li's failures mounted. 9 times he tried, each attempt ending with burned powder due to mismanaged temperature control. Frustrated but resolute, he sought a solution. Realizing that mastering the temperature, was a delicate art. Hanli lacked the resources for endless failures, so he turned to his time Dao abilities for aid. Summoning the mantra treasured axis, he slowed time within a 10-foot radius. The refinement process, now slowed to a third of its normal pace, allowed Hanli to observe every subtle change in the cauldron. After several adjustments, his insights deepened, and he could control the flame with greater precision. This time, after nearly 2 days, he poured the contents of the cauldron out to find several golden pills instead of powder. Though fewer than expected, the success was enough to prove his method. Hanli spent 2 months refining pills, his cultivation progressing swiftly. He emerged from seclusion to find the spirit fields flourishing, with spirit plants growing strong near the Crimson Dawn Peak. He greeted his disciples and spoke briefly with Meng Yongui, who had been collecting spirit plant seeds. Hanli praised his efforts and took stock of the seeds, including rare ones that would aid in his future pill refinements. With a gesture, he gave Meng Yongui more seeds to plant in the fields, advising him to care for them well. Hanli then retreated to his cave, tending to his own medicine garden with seeds essential for further refining his pills. He smiled as his garden expanded. Leaving the giant ape puppet to tend it as he moved on to his next task, Hanli returned to his cave abode, crossed his legs, and sank into quiet contemplation, like a lone sword resting in its sheath. The half-batch of origin-unifying pills had borne remarkable effect. In merely 2 months, he had harvested nearly 10 years of cultivation. Yet such rapid ascent burned spirit stones like a raging furnace devouring fuel. With the mantra treasured axis aiding his alchemy, buying finished pills would be sheer folly. Merit points were far too precious to squander so crudely. The true path forward lay in refining his own. But that required ingredients, and ingredients demanded wealth. The heaven-controlling vial was already strained maturing blaze tuber herbs and condensing heavy water for the earthly deity avatar. It could nurture little else. Most supplementary materials would have to be purchased, yet his spirit stone reserves were frighteningly thin. Selling spoils from fallen foes might bring short-lived relief, but it was no enduring river of income. After a moment's thought, Hanli produced the Transient Guild Mask. Among countless ways to earn spirit stones, guild missions were the swiftest and most discreet. Ordinary sect tasks were too visible, too prone to draw eyes and trouble. While transient guild rewards were richer and cloaked in shadow, the azure array bloomed into existence as he donned the mask. He scanned missions near the Blaze Dragon Dao, gathering spirit materials, refining pills, hunting demon beasts, assassinating cultivators. Some were unusual. A call for pill masters to refine a mysterious elixir, a request for array experts to break ancient ruins, even a recruitment of true immortals to besiege an unknown cultivator. Then, his gaze halted. A mission sought the #1 sword cultivator of Heavenly South, offering generous reward even for mere clues. A faint smile curved Hanli's lips. After the trial, all had departed in haste. None should have discovered the message he engraved beneath the 4th origin-defying stone sword. Only someone from Heavenly Sword Peak could have uncovered it later. The one most likely? Xiangshan himself. Clearly, Xiangshan had deduced that the famed sword cultivator who ruined his schemes hailed from Heavenly South, and he was not wrong. Yet Hanli had never revealed his mortal origins. There was nothing to fear. Still, this meant Xiangshan was also a transient guild member, and judging by his cultivation, likely one of high standing. Soon after, Hanli noticed another mission searching for Bai Fengyi, briefly stirring memories of Bai Suyuan before he swept such thoughts aside like fallen leaves. His eyes continued scanning. Finally, they locked onto a hunting task. Travel to Heavenly Glacial Pond, slay a true immortal stage glacial blowfish, retrieve its corpse, reward 4,000 top-grade spirit stones. He recalled the pond from records within the Blaze Dragon Dao, far north of even the profound ice mountains, a deathland where countless true immortals had perished. Without hesitation, Hanli accepted. Months later, the far north of the ancient cloud continent howled beneath endless snowstorms. Wind like ghostly blades scoured frozen peaks buried in white. An azure streak descended upon a mountain summit, revealing a yellow-skinned, middle-aged man, Hanli in disguise. Before him stretched a vast black lake, dark as ink, boundless as the sea. Despite the killing cold, its waters did not freeze. Black mist coiled above its surface, exhaling chill colder than the storm itself. This was Heavenly Glacial Pond. Hanli paused only briefly before flying toward it. Though it seemed lifeless, the depths concealed rare treasures and savage demon beasts immune to the cold. Many cultivators seeking fortune instead found death beneath those waters. Hanli skimmed low above the lake, eyes sharp. Suddenly, water exploded ahead as a 50-foot demon beast surged forth, crocodilian, cloaked in black scales, jaws lined with snow-white fangs, yellow eyes blazing with ferocity as it snapped toward him. Hanli flicked his sleeve. An azure flash froze the creature mid-leap. He passed cleanly between its teeth. A crimson line split its body from head to tail. Blood and entrails rained into the lake as the corpse fell apart. Without looking back, Hanli vanished onward. Deeper he traveled, where the cold grew harsher and the lurking beasts stronger. Even body integration stage monsters rose to challenge him, only to be dispatched as effortlessly as dust before a blade. At last, his eyes lit up. With a sweep of his sleeve, azure light plunged into the lake and drew forth a mass of dark algae, faintly fragrant. Black star algae, abundant on the lake bed and beloved by glacial blowfish. He cast it aside, then produced a millstone-sized blue organ, reeking strongly. An elephant trunk beast organ purchased for this very purpose. A white sensory talisman vanished into it at his command. Down it went. Glacial chi froze it instantly into black ice, yet its scent remained potent. The talisman would alert him the moment a beast fed upon it. Hanli did not wait. Across the vast pond he continued, planting bait wherever black star algae grew. Nearly half a month passed as dozens of traps were set. When his supply of organs ran dry, he concealed himself amid their center and waited like a hunter beside many snares. 2 months later, a thunderous boom shattered the heavens. Waves thousands of feet tall erupted across the pond, clouds swirling violently above. At their heart stood Hanli, facing a monstrous bluish-black blowfish demon beast over 200 feet long. Its bloated body bristled with bone spikes. Its tail curved like a scorpion's stinger, lashing with lightning speed. Dense black chi writhed around it, forming distorted faces of humans and beasts wailing in torment. A true immortal stage, glacial blowfish. It wailed like a crying child as pillars of blue light shot from its tail, each infused with law power. Glacial force swept outward for thousands of kilometers. Icicle spears formed in the air as space itself seemed frozen solid. Unmoved, Hanli summoned twin towering azure sword phantoms that spiraled like divine dragons, weaving into a sword net that blocked every streak of deadly light. The glacial blowfish's eyes widened in alarm, its roars growing more desperate. The glacial chi it wielded, capable of seeping into enemies unnoticed, had never failed it before. Yet this human cultivator stood unaffected. Hanli, with unwavering composure, let the heavy water true axis in his body churn, absorbing the oncoming glacial chi. With a decisive motion, 4 streaks of azure swordlight erupted, each massive and intertwining to form a net of sharp energy, slicing through the blue haze. Hanli formed a hand seal, and the swordlights merged into a colossal blade, crackling with golden lightning as it cleaved toward the glacial blowfish. The beast, sensing its imminent demise, shrieked in terror and unleashed a powerful ripple, attempting to freeze space itself. Hanli felt the constriction. His movements halted as if bound by invisible chains, while his golden sword paused midair. The glacial blowfish's body glowed as it summoned a massive black python, charging toward Hanli with immense force. With a cold snort, Hanli's aura flared, breaking the spatial bindings and freeing his golden blade. The sword crashed into the python, its body unraveling in a cloud of black smoke under the surge of golden lightning. The glacial blowfish, trembling in fear, attempted to flee, but a searing pain suddenly shot through its mind, halting its escape. A golden sword projection tore through its mouth, emerging from its back, and the creature's bluish blood gushed forth in a horrifying spectacle. The nascent soul within it had no chance to escape before it was eradicated. Hanli summoned his sword back to him, reabsorbing it into his body, and sealed the glacial blowfish's carcass in blue ice to preserve it. With a final motion, he stowed the beast away and vanished into the distance, an azure streak of light. In a secluded chamber on the ancient cloud continent, A scholarly man in a robe of refined elegance sat before a pill furnace, his focus unwavering as he refined a batch of pills. The furnace shuddered, releasing a charred scent, signaling failure. With a sigh, he retrieved an azure fox mask from his robes, placing it upon his face as a burst of azure light enveloped him. A large light screen materialized before him, and a storage pouch appeared within its glow. The man's eyes widened as he examined the glacial blowfish's pristine corpse, marveling at the skill of the one who had slain it. Worm 15? He mused, his curiosity piqued by the mystery surrounding this powerful cultivator. Elsewhere, in the secret cave atop Crimson Dawn Peak, Han Li, now donning his transient guild mask, received his next mission. The azure light screen revealed a storage pouch filled with top-tier spirit stones, a reward for his swift success in the thunderstorm sea against the lightning bats. Han Li swiftly stowed the stones and resumed his search for another task. Meanwhile, above the storm-tossed sea, 5 transient guild cultivators in azure and blue masks fought fiercely against a swarm of massive lightning bats. The battle raged as they struck down the beasts, but one cultivator, an azure-robed figure, stood apart, his black spear cutting through the bats with terrifying precision. He moved like lightning, his spear crackling with energy, his every strike lethal. The other cultivators watched in awe as he slaughtered the creatures with ease, his silver lightning barrier holding strong against the onslaught of their attacks. As the final bat fell, the azure-robed man, known only by his mask's inscription Worm 15, gathered the spoils without hesitation. A flash of silver lightning marked his departure as he left his companions behind. Later, as Han Li stood on the edge of the thunderstorm sea, his mask projected another light screen. He presented the 47 lightning bat crystals collected during the mission, and in exchange, 47 Immortal Origin stones were transferred to him. With a satisfied nod, he stowed the stones and turned his attention to the next challenge. 3 years later, Han Li returned to Crimson Dawn Peak, his body weary from the trials he had faced. He entered his chamber, casting his transient guild mask aside as he summoned another light screen. 3 black badges appeared, each embossed with a fearsome ghost's visage. After a brief ritual, dozens of Immortal Origin stones materialized before him. His mission had been completed, and though the task was successful, Han Li could not shake the lingering suspicion that the leader of the group he had worked with, whose swordsmanship had struck him as familiar, was none other than Xiong Shan. He dismissed the thought, for it mattered little. His focus remained on the path ahead. Years had passed, and in the heart of the Blaze Dragon Dao stood a palace of grandiose design, its ceiling towering like the heavens themselves, held aloft by 8 immense pillars. Upon each pillar, dragons of every shape and size were carved. Some roared to the sky, others soared in endless flight, while a few locked in fierce battle seemed poised to leap from their stone prison at any moment. Their vivid forms seemed alive with power, filling the air with their ancient might. Above them, a plaque marked the Grand Hall as the Dragon God Palace, beneath which stood a statue of a dragon, roughly hewn, its form unrefined but filled with an overwhelming sense of awe, as if it cast its judgment upon all below. In the shadow of this mighty figure, 3 figures stood. At the forefront was Ouyang Kuishan, his purple robe billowing like a banner in the wind. Beside him, Dao Lord Yun, a mistress of mesmerizing beauty, gazed with a flicker of intrigue in her eyes, while the stoic Xiong Shan, clad in golden robes, kept a respectful distance. The trio waited in silence, the weight of unspoken matters pressing heavily upon them. Footsteps broke the stillness, and 3 more figures entered. Elder Hu Yan, his red nose and gray robe betraying his age, flanked by a mysterious woman draped in black, her features obscured by a veil, and a young man with golden hair, his back adorned with a gleaming golden wheel. Their entrance marked the final assembly of this august gathering. Ouyang Kuishan greeted them with a smile, his voice calm yet authoritative. "The 5 of us are gathered at last." Dao Lord Yun's gaze remained fixed on Elder Hu Yan, her expression betraying a trace of displeasure, while Xiong Shan bowed deeply in respect. The 3 newcomers, unperturbed, saluted the great dragon statue before turning their attention to Ouyang Kuishan. Elder Hu Yan, his tone formal, inquired, "Fellow Taoist Ouyang, now that you're in charge of the sect, What matters compel you to call us here today? The answer was serious. Ouyang Kuishan recounted a grave incident that had transpired in the profound ice mountain range. Core disciples had been tested in trials, only to be attacked by a cunning intruder. While the elders had managed to destroy the invader's physical form, his nascent soul escaped, leaving behind deep ripples of concern. Fortunately, the disciples had survived, but the matter was far from resolved. Discontent rippled through the gathering as Yuan Bushao, the golden-haired youth, voiced his fury. 4 talented disciples had been rendered physically lifeless, their bodies destroyed, an irreversible blow to their potential. The blame, he argued, rested squarely on the 2 elders overseeing the trial. Dao Lord Yun disagreed sharply. The invader was a true immortal stage cultivator, well prepared with arrays and tricks. The elders acted swiftly, and the disciples were safeguarded. Instead of punishing them, they should be rewarded. But Yuan Bushao's anger flared as he rebutted her, accusing the elders of dereliction. A tense silence followed before Elder Hu Yan interjected, stern and commanding, "Enough, Yuan Bushao. Ouyang Kuishan presides over this matter. Let him decide." Ouyang Kuishan, with a reassuring smile, promised to make a just judgment, and the room quieted. Yuan Bushao seethed but held his tongue. The discussion turned to the true immortal stage intruder. Ouyang Kuishan, ever diligent, had collected the details of the event through jade slips, which he now shared with the group. As the jade slips were examined, the sequence of events unfolded, including the mysterious items the invader had carried, none of which offered any clear answers. Theories and speculation filled the air. The woman in black suggested the intruder might hail from the Upper Ah continent, based on his cultivation techniques. Yuan Bushao, ever sharp, pointed to a golden-armored puppet resembling those from the Infernal Frost Continent's Holy Puppet sect. Elder Hu Yan dismissed the puppet as a mere commodity, unhelpful in tracing the invader's origins. Xiangshan, humble as ever, offered insight into the sword array used by the intruder, recognizing a resemblance to the famed 7 Deaths sword array of the Boundless Sword sect. However, Yuan Bushao dismissed it as weak, arguing that the elder with the Li surname had shattered it effortlessly. The conversation grew heated, but Elder Hu Yan, ever the voice of wisdom, offered a calming perspective. The strength of the attacks wasn't in the array, but in the man who wielded them. He went on to speculate that the intruder's weapon, a unique treasure of heavy water imbued with the power of water laws, played a decisive role in the outcome. Ouyang Kuishan, nodding in agreement, noted that the matter of the intruder's identity remained elusive. Yuan Bushao, dissatisfied, fumed silently. As the meeting neared its close, Ouyang Kuishan turned the conversation to another critical point, the mention of Bai Fengyi by the intruder. A shadow passed over the faces of those gathered, each contemplating the gravity of this connection. Elder Hu Yan sighed, recalling the loss of Bai Fengyi, a promising talent whose untimely death had prevented Blaze Dragon Dao from achieving even greater heights. Dao Lord Yun's eyes darkened, a flicker of regret passing through her gaze. The meeting adjourned, but as Elder Hu Yan prepared to leave, Dao Lord Yun stopped him, her voice sweet but insistent. "Fellow Taoist Hu Yan, won't you stay? I've acquired some fine immortal wine and would like to speak more on matters of cultivation." Elder Hu Yan hesitated, then smiled. "Wine, you say? How could I resist?" And so the meeting drew to a close, leaving behind questions yet unanswered and alliances silently forged in the heat of unspoken words.